Someone showed me a small Bible this morning and made it perfectly clear to keep the spirit short. In talking to Blake this week on some things, every once in a while I have to call Blake as the lay leader, and sometimes I call Blake as my pastor. Sometimes I just call Blake. And he mentioned to me that he was going out of town, and he said, "Would you want to preach this Sunday?" I did just like that. I was speechless. And I said, "Well, I guess so. But what do you want me to preach on?" I said, "Do you want me to continue the series of John?" "Well, if you want to." I said, "No, I'll leave that to you. So you have something to do when you get back." So I hung up the phone, and like I do, we get ready for sermons, I start searching his brain and mind to see, what can I preach about? What can I share with the people? God, come to me. And I preached a sermon a long time ago. I don't know if I've done it since I've been here. And the title of the sermon was Fishing with Big Daddy. That was my grandfather. And fishing with Big Daddy did not lead me to be a fisherman. He would go and stay all day, catch nothing. I'm out in the hot sun, and I did not like to sweat. I wasn't worried about the suntan. But fishing with Big Daddy was an experience. Now, I enjoyed the first few hours because I had ice water in the mason fruit jar. It was actually ice water. And my grandmother made me sandwiches. I was okay. The third hour of that fishing trip, I had to have a sandwich, and I had to drink some water. I did not know that 30 years later, I would be drinking water out of a bottle like this. I thought the best water was in that mason fruit jar on the banks of the Mansfield Lake with Big Daddy. Well, when the water was gone and the sandwich was gone and I had my afternoon nap under the shade tree, I was ready to go home. But the reason why I went fishing is because my grandmother had a bunch of work for me to do. And I thought if I went fishing, I would get out of working with my grandmother. My grandmother, if she had the opportunity to work for Walmart, J.B. Hunt, and Mr. Boyd's coal mines, she would have been president long time ago. She could work you to death and kill you with kindness. You know what that means? As long as you're doing the job, they smile. Then they hug you. And then they say, "Oh, baby, could you go and do this?" Well, that morning I decided to go fishing with Big Daddy so I wouldn't have to build a fire under the kiln to wash clothes. It was Monday. So I went fishing. And then the next time I went fishing with Big Daddy, we found a watermelon. And I ate some of the watermelon. Now, the reason why I do not like watermelon today, I cut out that stereotype. Not all black folks like watermelon. Since I lived in Northwest Arkansas, I've seen lots of white folks with watermelon. But Dad made me eat a piece of watermelon, and it was bad. And I got sick. And I got home and I told my grandmother, from this day forward, dog more, don't you ever make that baby eat something they do not like. And I don't. Well, you know, this is not where I'm going to go with this sermon. This is not even written. This is not in my notes. But I led me to talk about Big Daddy, fishing with Big Daddy. But the topic of the sermon today, is it a fish sandwich or a BTL? Those two serving trays up there, and one has a fish sandwich, one has a BLT under it. Visual thinking. Those of you that are visual. Don't you know how to make a BLT? And I bet it's good too. You know how to make a fish sandwich? You fry it just right. Homemade tartar sauce that you made. On some nice bread. Coleslaw. That's good, isn't it? Those of you that have not had breakfast. Well, my scripture today is going to tell us how to either select a fish sandwich or BTL. I'm a sociologist. I think we have to have both. Because if you had one or the other, you go conflict on. The fish wasn't done. The bacon was too crisp. On Matthew 4, chapter 18 to 19th verse, it says, as he walked by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who was called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And he said to them, follow me, and I will make you fishermen of men. May the words of my mouth and meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. This day I pray. Amen. Last week, we talked about the little boy and the fish, the loaves. See, that's the advantage of having a tape. I go back and see what the late preached about. Have you ever thought about what that story really meant? Have you ever thought about that how in the world could you feed all of those people with a small amount of fish and bread? Have you ever thought what type of pole he used to catch those fish? I don't think he went to best sports. Do you? I don't think he had a fly cast rod. There's others. What kind of hook did he have? What kind of lure did he have? I've been thinking about that for a long time. Since I am not a fisherman, I watch people fish. And I've always wanted to go on this yacht and stand on the back of the boat and have a rod and a big fish, stuff like that I'm fighting with. Well, I realized I didn't have to go to the deep sea to be fighting with fish. In my life, and I'm sure in your life, you had a hook and a lure and the right fishing pole, you thought. Until that fish got on your hook and started wiggling. And you fought, and you fought, and you fought, and you looked like you was going to lose. Then all at once, out of the water comes a little fish about like that. See, fishes in our life doesn't have to be the big ones. This is those lures. Those lures that make us wrestle with and make us think and question our faith and our belief in God. Now, let me give a name to our fishing trip today. The name of our fishing trip or topic or type of fishing is evangelism. Evangelism. I'm going to ask you a question. And I want you to show your hand. I'm not going to be mad at you if you get it wrong. How many of you want our fishing expedition here at Living Waters have only 100 fish in the box, on the hook, on the line? You understand what I mean? How many of you only want 100 fish in the water that we can take up on Sunday morning and say this is what we caught? Or how many of you want 200?
How about next week?
What?
How about the next weekend? And that's the fishing net?
Yes. I'll get to that. The net's not ready. The net still didn't put it together. But how many of you rather have 200, 300 fish in this pond that is full of the Holy Spirit, knows God, and know how to evangelize? Anyone? Okay, I know you all do, and I'm not going to get mad if you to raise your hand because I can see it on your faces. But remember, how do you catch fish is the key. It's the key. How you catch fish determines whether you have a fish sandwich or you have BLT. Now, is it important the type of net you have for the fish? Yes. What is your net made of? Is your net made of dedication, perseverance, faith? Or is your net made of God? Are you a Christian? Are you a believer? That's the kind of net we need to use. It is not always the people that you bring into the church is going to have more money in the collection plate. That's important. But in my life, I'd rather sit next to a fish that loves God, has a purpose in life, and can make a difference in my life. So that's why it's important what your selection is. Now, in order to have the fish sandwich, we have to be able to have a hook and a lure that can bring in from the depth of the water these, what I call loud mouth atheists. You know, there are people that always talk that there is no God. I don't believe. But it's kind of hard for me to understand how do they make when death comes to the family, illness comes, an accident comes. Who do they turn to? Who do they turn to when you wake up in the morning and you don't feel good? Or you lose your job? But then sometimes we have to have a way to change what Blake calls the good old church people. I think they're the Pharisees, aren't they? Something like that. Because sometimes the fish that you sit next to is not the fish you want to eat, or the fish you want to be next to. Those that always complain. Those always has the answer to everything. And those that know exactly what living waters need to be. Well, in order for us to bring in the fish, we must be able to evangelize. And that means spread the gospel. Spread the gospel. And be a witness. Be a witness. And that's what makes a fish sandwich. People that can talk to non-Christians and talk about how God has changed their life and how you can be a reborn, a newborn, new birth. Not all of us can do that. Not all of us can be evangelists. Can you name two of the famous evangelists in your lifetime? Billy Graham. Boy, he could preach. He could witness. He can get you to change your life. He's been to the White House. And you know, it takes evangelists to change the president sometimes. He's done that, hasn't he? What's another evangelist? Well, some of us remember Oral Roberts. Ken Roberts. You know, we knew him before he needed $1 million from God. You know, Billy Graham and Oral Roberts have been evangelists in our lifetime that has changed the world. Changed the world, just not only our North Carolina and Oklahoma, changed the world. But not everybody can do that. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not too good at evangelizing, as I think. But all I can tell somebody about what God has done for me and what I have seen people change in their life because they became Christians. You know? So if you can evangelize, preach the gospel, and turn people around to Christ, you are the fish sandwich. There's nothing wrong with that. One person in the Bible in Acts 8, chapter 8 of Acts, named Philip. You know, he's the only person that was given the title evangelist. I love the story and preaching about this Ethiopian eunuch that had gone to Jerusalem to worship. He'd gone to Jerusalem to worship, not for a vacation. You know, he would stay at the best hotels, Jerusalem, Hilton. But he'd gone to the synagogue to worship. And all the way back to Gaza, through the area of Gaza, that still exists today. Philip was said to go down the road to Gaza from Jerusalem. And all the way he met the eunuch. And they had a conversation. Remember that? They had a conversation. And the eunuch was reading Isaiah. How can I understand what I'm reading? I must be taught. What do I understand? Now, understanding is about like this sermon that I'm giving to you. You're trying to understand where is he